Just had a particularly interesting PM from Justin Shaw, and I wanted to make a response video. And Justin was asking about the meditation video where I was interacting with the movement of the wind. And his question was about the implications of humanity as it relates to the nature of the weather and working with the weather and stuff like that, and our particular influence on things that are weather related. If you look at the video, it's only because I have a knowledge of the connection that I make to the things around me that allows me to move and change the way, in a sense, the wind is moving, or interact with the wind in a hypersymmetric way. And I think that if you look at some of the things that the mainstream religions do, some of these things are very similar. If you think about the sit, kneel, pray of the Catholic Church or the Christian Church, and you think about the way the Islams parade around Mecca, if you think about the way they parade around the stone in circles, that type of human energy could definitely have the same sort of effect on the weather in some either unknown or known way, depending on the priest, I guess, and maybe the intentions or the methods of the priest. I don't know. But the more interesting thing I think about this is if you look at the stories and legends of the Sadhus, the Indian ascetics that just sit in the same place for years upon years, just sit in the same place. And sometimes when they get up, there's an earthquake, or there's a sudden storm, and their movement has been stabilizing. Their lack of movement, in a sense, has been stabilizing the world. Now, it's less true in modern India, but in more ancient India, these people were very much revered and respected for some of these sort of metaphysical services that they provided to the community. And, they were, given oblations, and, people bring them food and, basically take care of any of their needs. Not that they have any, just sitting in the same place for years and years and years. But physically, if you look at the hypertime analysis of it, there's a sort of natural cycle that seems to develop around something that just stays in the same place. Everything sort of gets out of its way and moves around it, and then when it moves, everything else has to adjust. And so that relationship is a very real physical relationship, and to understand the complexity of it, I don't think it's anything we have to really worry about knowing about the nature of the universe. I don't think that that's something that is going to necessarily cause trouble. I think that if anything, it would allow us to do things like predict the earthquakes. They're going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Predict the storms better. Understand the relationships better. I don't think that there's any danger for any particular individual, taking control of the weather unless no one else knows about it. And so I think that in a sense, if there's other people that know about this and that are exploiting this information, just by trying to educate people on it, I might be endangering myself. I hope not. I hope that's not the case, but it's a possibility. I don't think that one person physically can take control of the weather. What you see in that video was a highly localized effect, and it had to do with the nature of my movement or lack of movement. If it was Joe Average off the street and he goes sits on that rock, it probably wouldn't have reacted, because Joe Average, his movement doesn't have a lever to it. What I call a lever. There's a sort of lever that someone that doesn't move a lot develops through hypertime. And this is part of the ascetic, the sadhu practice. They know about these ways to leverage their own personal being for these things, sort of at a distance. But I don't know. The details are very, very interesting, and that's obviously what I'm working with astrophotometry, is the physical details of how these things are related and how our lives are actually influenced by them. So anyway, thanks for that question. It's a very interesting question, and I hope I answered it. If you have any more, I'll leave the comments open for this one.